Boom, boom, boom. All right. So what's the deal with alcohol? So one of the questions is alcohol good or is it bad? Like, is it good or is it bad? And just very similar to how we label food, it's neither. Like food is neither good or bad. It's just up to you to make the decision on whether or not it's something that you want to consume in moderately, overconsumption, occasionally, never, all of those different things.
It's neutral, so you get to choose how you want to use it.
And so the next then comes into, will alcohol affect my physical progress? So that we're going to say it depends. Everybody's favorite answer. I know I should just save that slide for everybody. When you ask a question, it depends.
A little flashcard that you left up.
So will it affect my physical progress? First, let's talk a little bit about what does alcohol affect. Some of the positive effects of alcohol. So if we're thinking about alcohol in moderation, alcohol in general, whether it's wine, whether it's a cocktail, a beer, whatever you consider alcohol, it can provide, a sense of bonding. It's very social in social settings. Like a lot of people will utilize alcohol to, let's say, take the edge off, or maybe you had a stressful day at work and so you want to relax. And so can help give you that like let down or relaxation response, which can be, a positive thing, right? Hence, which leads to the next point, can provide relaxation effects and reduce your, immediate stress level. Red wine, like specifically red wine, the consumption can have cardioprotective effects from the polyphenols, specifically, I believe you pronounce it resveratrol. That one's always a hard one.
Yeah, we're using $100 words today.
I know. But basically, like in moderation, red wine has shown in multiple studies to, be beneficial to your health. And then obviously, like for some people, drinking alcohol, it tastes yummy. Like,
yeah, it's good. It's fun. It's enjoyable. Like that's not a positive effect that needs to be downplayed. Like people enjoy it. Things that you enjoy can be good.
Yeah, like same thing with food. Like if there's something, that like is perceived as bad, like, well, if you enjoy the taste of it, like, how much are you consuming of it? And is it really that bad for you? If it gives you a mental boost or a feeling that you're seeking, then that could be a positive thing. Obviously, there's the other flip side of the coin, negative effects of alcohol, right? So we're talking specifically, even in moderation, you can have these effects. And then obviously in excess, there's, long-term detrimental effects as well. Impaired sleep. Regardless of how you feel in the morning, there are those times where even though, like, if you've ever utilized, oh gosh, what are those? It's like Fitbits or the
Noom.
There's another fit tracker that I'm totally blanking out right now. But basically, Whoop.
Or even the Aura ring, I think.
Yeah. It tracks like sleep quality and it shows recovery and all those kinds of things. And there's been multiple studies that even a drink or two can impair your ability and recovery during sleep. In general, it can affect muscle recovery. It is a diuretic, which can lead to dehydration, which then also affects muscle recovery. It also decreases fat utilization and increases fatty acid storage, which can lead to fat gain. Impairs muscle protein synthesis. Yes, it does impair your ability to build that muscle.
Gains.
In not the way that you want, we'll say gains. Impaired judgment. I mean, how often, and this can go either way. There's some people where they can have a drink or they can drink all day. And then because there's obviously calories in alcohol, it'll fill you up, like liquid wise, volume wise, yes. But like you're consuming calories, and liquid calories, they can fill you up, but it will often impair your judgment, which can tend to lead to overconsumption or snacking and just like, the fuck it mindset, like I'm feeling good, let's have some Cheetos or like whatever.
Well, and it's one of those things sometimes like the impaired judgment could be in, like, oh, I'm going to have another drink, or because I had a couple of drinks, I'm going to have some food, right? So like you can overconsume just solely from the alcohol itself. But a lot of times, just like, if people partake in, weed or any other extracurricular activities, it's not necessarily the substance itself. It's just like, all right, well, what does that lead to? What type of activity does that put you in?
Yeah,
right?
so it can alter your behaviors from your impaired judgment. And then obviously, like, calories add up quick, especially depending on the type of alcohol that you are consuming. So with that, will alcohol affect my physical progress? It totally can. Like we just know, like we just read all the different ways that alcohol can affect you. But I mean, it's definitely going to depend on, how much alcohol you're consuming, how often you're consuming it, and then what are the other behaviors that are taking place when you consume alcohol, right? So there's a couple questions when it comes to alcohol that you want to ask yourself. So the first question would be like, do I enjoy drinking alcohol? And if you do, like, great, that's awesome. But ask you, like, the next question to follow up with that is like, okay, what about drinking alcohol do you enjoy? Do you like the way that you feel? Do you like the taste of it? Is it just something social that if you don't drink alcohol, are going to feel awkward if you don't, or do you like the social aspect of it?
And sometimes it could just be like, habitual or routine, right? Like a lot of times, if it is something to unwind or de-stress, sometimes it's just habit or routine. So you get home and like, this is what I do. I get home, I relax, have a glass of wine or celebrate or anything along those lines. There could be something that's like, all right, whenever this happens, it's followed by a drink. And that's not wrong. It's just, all right, how do you enjoy it? I enjoy it typically one after a long day of work, right?
Yeah. And so like identifying, like, if it is that you enjoy drinking alcohol, great. But like, what is it about drinking alcohol that you enjoy? And if it is something that like you enjoy and want to incorporate, like taking a look at other things on your journey in your life. If it's something that you just do, then maybe asking yourself like, if I really like the feeling of alcohol, can I get this feeling or this letdown or whatever it is that you're getting from alcohol from something different?
Because it's a lot easier to replace a habit than it is just to eliminate one. So if it's
Yeah.
like, hey, cool, if you want to drink less or have it not necessarily be a part of your daily, weekly routine, then figure out like, all right, cool. When I normally have a drink, why do I have it? And is there something that I can do in place of that if it's not appropriate to have drinks in any given stage of your life or journey?
Yeah.
Right?
The other thing that you want to think about is, does it make sense with where I'm currently at on my journey? In the previous slides, we know that calories can add up very quickly, right? And so asking yourself like, okay, like, does it make sense? Like, am I in a fat loss phase and it's going to eat up a lot of my calories? Am I maintaining? Am I looking to bulk? Like, what are my current physical goals? Am I looking to perform better? Am I looking to increase my strength? And so, is alcohol going to add or take away from that? Well, it depends on what your goals are and what you're looking to get out of it and what alcohol actually does for you.
But if you're super restricted on calories at any given time, alcohol is probably not a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it'll take up a majority of your calories. And then if you're already, hungry or battling that, then inhibitions will probably go out the window when you have a drink. You may get buzzed faster because you're on low calories and you can just like, screw it, I want to eat the whole house. So like, that's where taking a look at your current nutritional target or what part of the journey you're in plays a huge factor.
And then asking yourself, like, how do I want to include it within my intake? Like, is this something that you do want to enjoy every night of the week? Is it a couple nights of the week? If so, like, are you going to track it? Is it just like, oh, I allow myself like a single drink when I go out? Are you setting a limit? And so all of these, like, it's like, oh, I just want to drink. These are definitely questions that will help you dig a little bit deeper and increase your awareness on just the whole process of yourself and how you behave and how you think.
And sometimes like there's a lot of people it's like, oh, like she was saying, like, this seems like a lot. I want to just, enjoy and have a drink. But the reality is for a lot of people, if and when they don't put the forethought into it beforehand, then there's a lot of thought that goes into potentially guilt or regret on the backside. It's like, oh, I drank too much. I shouldn't have done this. Why did I do that? All of those fun things. So like there's a reality that you're probably going to be thinking about it either beforehand or after, right? So like if the thought's going to go there, you might as well put it before you make the decision. So that way you can make an appropriate decision about how you want to act, how you want to show up, all of those things, set the expectation and the standard for yourself, then live up to that. And then move on with your life, enjoying things.
Yes. So some of our top tips when drinking. So first one, rethink your drink. I had seen this on I mean, don't get me wrong. This is one of those things where it's like, if you like a super sugary sweet drink, just think about it. Like, okay, like, wow, one pina colada, depending on who's making it, how it's being made, could be up to 650 calories. So if you're like, cool, I'm okay with, using 650 calories towards a single drink, or would I like it better utilized to consume multiple drinks? Very similar to like when he has a beer. There are certain beers that hold, like a single beer could be like 500 calories. And sometimes it's like, hey, like that's what I want and look forward to and enjoy. But then there's other times where it's like,
So I'd rather have 2 or 3 that equal the same, 400 or 500 calories, and then enjoy it over, an extended period of time. And so like, if you do like those things, sometimes there is a give and take, or where it's like, all right, cool, like same thing. How do I want to enjoy this tonight? Is it just one single, we'll say big drink? Or if you want to enjoy it for, a couple hours, is it something that you're going to order something that's a little bit lighter, but you get to enjoy more of
that? Other like swaps, we'll call them calorie swaps, would be like hard seltzers. They are so out there. I will tell you, some taste way better than others.
Just because there's a lot out there doesn't mean there's
no, definitely not.
Roll the dice on your own.
Yes. Red wine, white wine typically hold around 120 calories. Prosecco is one of those ones that actually is relatively low. I think it's like 80 to 90 calories, depending on your serving sizes. Be mindful of that. Typically, clear liquors are really good when it comes to calories, or we'll say they're lower calorie options. And so doing that with like all of the 0-calorie sparkling waters and adding some lime to it makes it so it's like something that you enjoy. It's tasty, it's refreshing, it's low in calories, you're still able to enjoy it. Lighter beers as well. But there are things to note when it comes to those things, that 3 grams of carbs does not equal 100 calories. And so we'll go over in a moment on how to track these calories.
And then with it's also taken into consideration, just like with your food, potentially the serving size. Because I know a lot of times with either light beer or seltzers or things like that, if you go and you get like a tall can, it's like, oh, great, it's only 100 calories. Mm-hmm. You flip it over, it's like per 8-ounce serving or per 12-ounce serving. It's like, oh, well, there's 3 or 4 servings in here. So like, just being a little bit more thorough when you go pick it up. Like, obviously, that's going to be better than buying something that's going to be super, like higher in calories or whatever. But just being mindful, because marketers can be tricky, and they'll try to sneak as much in as possible.
Yes. And so basically some other tips would be doing like a 1-to-1 rule. So if you have a drink, follow it up with a glass of water. Not only will that help you moderate how much you are drinking, but it will help keep you hydrated as well. And oftentimes that social, we'll say, pressure of drinking is people just want something in their hand. They do. Like, I mean, honestly, whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic. And then planning ahead. So knowing like, okay, when am I going to, asking yourself those questions of when, how am I going to enjoy alcohol, if any at all? And then knowing how to account for it, and then doing some simple calorie swaps if that is something that you want to do. Even when you do go out to bars and stuff, one way, because like obviously bartenders are all very different in how they pour. Some places are very particular, like this is exactly 1.5 ounces of liquor in each whatever. But if you want to feel more in control, getting something that's obviously already canned is a great way to know, like, this can has 100 calories. This is exactly how many calories I'm consuming.
There's just less variables.
Less variables,
someone being,
exactly.
Generous with their pour or not.
But some people want to be generous, and they look forward to that. Yeah. So let's talk about how to account. All right. Yes, there's multiple ways that you can account. The easiest way for most people is to track alcohol as carbohydrates. There are some people that like to track it as fat. Most of the time, people have a higher amount of carbs than they do fats to play with, so it's easier to pull from your carbs than it is from your fats. Fats are like higher and you prefer to do that, you can do this same type of thing, and I'll tell you in just a moment how to do it. So essentially, find the total calories of your drink. You can do that scanning the barcode. Sometimes the barcodes, like, as you know, depending on what you're using, show up stuff. Sometimes they do not. You can research online and use general guidelines for like tequila typically holds X amount of calories per X amount of ounces or whatever. There is also a really cool calculator that I had stumbled upon. It's the ABV calculator, and it's like a home brewer that will help you approximate, depending on the alcohol percentage and the volume of beer, it'll give you an approximate calorie content of it. So it's really great, especially when you have fancy ass beers like him. But basically, there's 4 calories per gram of carbs. So then you take the amount of calories within that drink divided by 4 to get the amount of carbs. And then you log the amount of carbs in your tracker, because most of the time, if you're just logging calories, when you go to your total macronutrient target, the carbs don't add up.
Yeah.
And so you just log it as carbs, or if you have like an entry that's already saved, like this is my alcohol entry, and you could do like 1 gram per calorie, and then that's just what you utilize to track. Hopefully that makes sense. And if you do fats, then you can divide it by 9 to get the amount of fats that it would take up in your day.
Yeah. And so it would be like figuring out how many calories are in it and decide if you're going to allocate them all towards carbs or fats, and doing the appropriate math. Yeah, do the appropriate math to make sure calories are actually accounted for somewhere, especially if you're tracking, like you said, in some tracker that accounts for macros. Because if you don't do that, then it'll let you know, oh, you have more macros left, even though you exceeded your calorie.
Yes, exactly. So in conclusion, alcohol is neither good or bad. It's a choice that you get to make on whether or not you want to include it into your intake. Yes, alcohol consumption can affect you physically, especially depending on the amount that you consume. Go through and ask yourself those questions. Decide if it is something that you want to include, how often you want to include it, and then know how to count for it. So those were, I would say, like our general top tips for it.